Hey y'all, my name is Ashley and today is Vlogmas Day 8. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up decluttering my highlighter collection. So if that sounds interesting to you, then keep on watching. So judging by the title, you'll know this is like part 2 of my highlighter collection declutter. I posted part 1 sometime last week. And in that video, I went through and decluttered and reorganized some of my highlighter palettes along with some of my cream, putty, and liquid formulas when it came to highlighter. And all the highlighters that I'm going to be going through today are going to be loose powders or just like a pressed powder compact. And let's just jump right in. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the highlighters I have from Pat McGrath Labs. I have 3 of them are going to be from the Bridgerton collection. So the first 2 is from like the first collaboration that Pat McGrath Labs did with Bridgerton. The first shade is the shade Incandescent Gold. So this one's a really beautiful white gold highlight with like a gold shift to it. Out of these 2, this one is definitely my favorite. The other one's in the shade Extreme Gold, and this is a very, very gold highlighter. And I will be keeping both of these because this Skin Fetish Sublime highlighters, which is more of like that gel texture, but then it goes on like a powder. That is my favorite type of highlighter from any brand. So I will be keeping both of these, plus their Pat McGrath. So the next highlighter is also from the Bridgerton collection. Now this is when the second collection came out, and this is actually a loose highlighter, and it's called the Scintillating Diamond Body Shimmer. It's in some very large packaging, but it comes with like a powder puff, and it's just like a loose body shimmer. I've actually never used this, but I still won't be decluttering it because I think it's cute. And then the last highlighter from Pat McGrath Labs is the Skin Fetish Ultra Glow Highlighter in Divine Rose. This came out with like the Divine Rose Mothership palette, I think the second one. And it is a very pink highlighter with a gold shift. I will be keeping it. The next 2 highlighters are from MAC, and they are a collaboration. These 2 highlighters are actually kind of old, but I still won't be decluttering them. And it is the MAC collaboration with Star Trek, and I believe it was for like the 50-year anniversary. So the first one is in the shade Luna Luster, and it's one of those marbled highlighters. This one's like a pastel champagne with kind of like a pink tone to it. I don't see if it's picking up on my arm, and honestly, if it didn't look good, I'd still keep it because I am a little bit of a Trekkie. And the second highlighter is called Highly Illogical. Same thing, it's marbled, but this one's a deeper gold, kind of almost like a bronze toned, and I will be keeping that as well. So I won't be swatching all of them, but I will try to take the time to swatch more than I did in my last video, which is why I swatched those MAC ones. All right, let's get into some controversial makeup because, you know, why the fuck not? I have quite a few of these. Like, I can't even pick them all up in one hand. I have some Jeffree Star Cosmetics highlighters. I'm gonna start off with the Skin Frost formula. I do have 5 of these. I actually don't know if they still, like, if this brand still carries this formula. I know for a fact they don't carry this one. This is the collaboration with Manny MUA in the shade Eclipse. So this one's a very like pastel pink highlighter. I will be keeping this. Another one that you can't pick up anymore is in the shade Crystal Ball. I'll be keeping this one as well because I absolutely love this one. More for like inner corner highlights, just because it is a beautiful white highlighter that actually doesn't have a shift to another color. Majority of the white highlighters I own shift into like greens or purples, blues, a different color. This one is just a pure white highlighter, and it's just great to brighten up eye looks. I do have, the next 3 are from just launches. They were never like limited edition or collaborations in any way. This shade is King Tut, and this is a bronzy gold highlight. Man, look how reflective that is. And I'm sure you've guessed it, I will be keeping it. But that is just a beautiful gold highlight that I need to keep. This is the shade Mint Condition, so I will be keeping this one as well. And finally, the shade Peach Goddess. So this is a very pink toned highlighter. And after swatching it, it is right here. It's not that pink on the skin, so I will be keeping it. So from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, I do have 7 highlighters in the Supreme Frost formula. And these have a little bit more glitter in it than the Skin Frost, but these are also gorgeous. The first shade is the shade Crystal Kumquat. Just a really pretty champagne, and I'll be keeping this. Then the shade Citrus Bling. Also, this is another like pastel gold shade, but it is lighter than the last one, and I'll be keeping this one. The shade Frozen Peach. Now this one looks a little bit duller than the rest, so I'm actually going to swatch this one. Oh, I'll be keeping it for sure. Like that sparkle is just so pretty. This Extreme Frost formula is that formula I was talking about earlier with the Pat McGrath Labs. I don't know how to explain it, but it's that formula that I absolutely love. The Fenty highlighters are the same way, or the Fenty Diamond Bomb highlighters are the same way. So I just have a hard time parting with a formula that I really love. This shade is the shade Wet Dream. It's just a nice gold highlight. The shade Money Honey, which is a gold to green highlight, and I will be keeping that as well. The shade Diamond Wet. This is just a beautiful sparkle, very blingy highlighter. I will be keeping this. And finally, the shade Candy Apple Drip. Now this is just a very dark bronze to green shift, and I'll be keeping this one as well. So I didn't part with any of my Jeffree Star Cosmetics highlighters. Actually, I haven't parted with anything yet. So let me pick a pile that hopefully I can get rid of something out of. This stack is from Too Faced Cosmetics. The first highlighter is a prismatic highlighter in the shade Ray of Light, and this really cute heart-shaped packaging. But this is also like broken. So I will go ahead and part with this. Now I do have 3 of these Diamond Light highlighters, and they all come in like this, like, you know, little over the top packaging. This is the shade Canary Diamond, and it is just a really pretty like gold highlighter with like pink and orange shift to it. I will be keeping this. I have the Chocolate Diamond as well, which is a really pretty copper highlight, and I'm sure you've guessed it. I'll be keeping that. And then the last one like this I have is in the shade Fancy Pink Diamond. This one's not as like shiny as the other 2. Oh, but it is really pretty. It's definitely a more of a glowy highlighter, but I will be keeping this one as well. And then the last highlighter I have from Too Faced is the Candlelight Glow Highlighting Powder Duo in the shade Rosy Glow. So you do have like a white highlight that shifts to gold on one side, and then a pink toned highlighter. It gives the same effect as a loose setting powder that has like the luminous look to it. And just because this product is much older and I'd rather use some of the loose powders I own, I am going to part with this. Next up is Ofra Cosmetics. So surprisingly, I only have 4 highlighters from Ofra. I guess maybe because I have quite a few face palettes from Ofra. But this is the shade Peppermint, which I have been using quite a bit lately. So obviously I will be keeping it. I also have the shade Sugar Cookie, and I've been getting a lot of use out of this as well lately, so I'll be keeping it. This is the shade Glazed Donut. And finally, the shade Pumpkin Pie. So I will be keeping all of these Ofra highlighters. Jaclyn Cosmetics. So I actually have quite a few highlighters in different formulas from Jaclyn Cosmetics. So I want to start off with the baked formula, and I have 2 different highlighters, the shade Mesmerized, which is a pinky gold, and then the shade Iced, which I think is like a really popular shade in this line. And I will be keeping both of these. I have 3 highlighters in the Putty formula. So I have the shade Skylight, which this is in the packaging that came out with the summer collection that I believe was released in 2021. And this is just a gold highlight. Then the shade Star Power, which is just a little bit darker than the shade Skylight. And finally in the shade Iced, which is obviously a very icy highlighter. I will be keeping all 3 of those. Now onto the loose highlight. I have the shade High Volt, which this was purchased when it came out as a holiday collection before it became a permanent item. Then I have the shade Extra, which is just a very, very pastel champagne gold. And finally the shade Hypnotic, which this one's the purple highlight. I love using this one on the eyes. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep the shades Extra and Hypnotic. And I will be passing along the shade High Volt. Just because it's such a deep coppery pink, I don't see myself reaching for this. So if there is a little bit background noise, there is vacuuming going on in my house, and I apologize for it. But this next stack is from Kylie Cosmetics. This first product is actually brand new. I picked it up recently, so I only just got in the mail maybe last week. And it is the highlighter in the shade Winter Rose. So I obviously will be keeping this because I just purchased it. Then I have the shade Dream About Me. And this was launched this past Valentine's Day. And it's just a champagne gold highlighter with like pink little glitter bits in it. And I'll be keeping this as well. I have 3 loose highlighters from Kylie Cosmetics. So these are obviously older products because since the rebrand, I don't believe they've come out with loose highlighters. So I have them in the shade Fiji, Santorini, and Tahiti. These are really messy when I open them, but I know for a fact that I want to keep Fiji and Santorini. So I'm going to keep these 2 and actually put the shade Tahiti in a maybe pile. Just because it is a very, it's like the Jaclyn Cosmetics highlighter. It's a pink toned highlighter. I have some products from Milk Cosmetics. Now these 3 are actually considered blushes, but to me, they're more of a highlight. These are the Digital Dust Blush Duos. This first one's in the shade Raw and Honey, and I'll be keeping this. This is the shade Queen Bee. And finally, the shade Buzzkill, which is very pink toned. Even though this is pink toned, I actually really enjoy it. This is my favorite one out of all 3 of these highlighters. I will be keeping those. And then the last one I have from Milk Cosmetics is a Digital Dust highlighter. Now this is just one shade. It is in the shade Illumination, and this came out with the Day of the Dead palettes. So it is this pink toned highlighter that I will be keeping. Fenty Beauty. Okay. I have so many highlighters from Fenty Beauty, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to part with any of them. But I have all 4 of the Diamond Balm highlighters. So the shade Cognac Candy, the shade How Many Carats, which is like the original one, the shade Rose Rave, and lastly, the shade Royal Icing. I absolutely love these highlighters. These are not just for highlighting. Like, these work great on the eyes as an eye topper and even on the lips. So I will be keeping all 4 of these Diamond Balms. I have 6 of these Killawatt foil highlighters. So the first one is a duo in the shade Mimosa Sunrise and Sangria Sunset. And the second and last duo I have is in the shade Afternoon Snack and More Money. So I'll be keeping both of these duos. And then just the single ones, I have the shade Trophy Wife, the shade Penny for Your Thoughts, the shade Middle Moon, and finally the shade What a Brat. I'm actually going to keep 3 of these and go ahead and declutter the shade Penny for Your Thoughts, just because it is just too bronzy for me. It's really coppery. It's definitely not meant for my skin tone. So I'm going to pass it along. And finally, for Fenty Beauty, I have 4 of the loose highlighters, and I will be keeping all 4, but I have the shade Rose on Ice, 24 Cray, Coppa Chill, and Trophy Wife. So next is Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have the iconic Ambreezy highlight, and I would be crazy if I decluttered this, so I will be keeping it. And I still use it all the time. It truly is the perfect highlighter. Now I also have the shade Iced Out. Now this came out last year, and with the packaging being so similar to the Ambreezy highlighter, I know I'm not the only one who went crazy for this highlighter. It is a similar formula, but the shade is a white to gold shift, and it's kind of green almost as well. And I won't declutter it, but I don't love it as much as my Ambreezy highlighter. I have 3 loose highlighters from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have the shade Snowflake, which is a white highlight. The shade Vegas, which is a pastel champagne gold. The shade Peach Fizz, which is a orangey pink. The shade So Hollywood, which is just a gold highlight. And finally, the shade Sunset Aura, which is more of a gold coppery highlight. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is keep all of them except for Peach Fizz. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And the last highlighters I have from Anastasia Beverly Hills is going to be these loose pigments. And I'm gonna go ahead and keep all three, but I have the shade Icy, the shade Sand, and finally the shade Crystal. We are almost through all of the highlighters. Now, all my highlighters from Wet n Wild. I have two loose ones, and I have the Hustle and Glow loose highlighter, which I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. And then the loose highlighter duo from the collaboration with Bretman Rock in the shade Jungle Rock. So this is a loose duo highlighter. So you got a more color shifting one where it's gold to pink, and then the other one is just a icy white highlighter. So I'll be keeping this. Then I have two of these Mega Glow highlighters. I have the shade Precious Petals and the shade Blossom Glow. I'm gonna go ahead and keep both of these. And then the last one from Wet n Wild is Let Your Light Shine. And this is from the Care Bears collaboration. So I'm going to keep it, but it is a icy to gold highlight. For ColourPop, I thought I had more highlighters, but I think I might be wrong. But I'm gonna start off with the ones that are going to make people angry, and that is the three from the Harry Potter collaboration. So I have the shade Hedwig, and all of these are like the marble highlights. It's purple, blue, and icy white highlighter. Shade Dobby, which is definitely more golden, still marbled though, and the shade Buckbeak. And so this is also like a pinky gold shade. I will be keeping all three of those. Then I have the Barbie collaboration highlighter, which is a golden marbled highlight. And this is actually, it's a Super Shock highlighter. And then the last one is actually from Soul Body, but it's still ColourPop. And it is a collaboration that unfortunately is no longer made. And it is from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the shade Jingle, Jingle, Jingle. And it is a really pretty pink highlight for the body, but I actually use this on my face, and I've been using it a lot because it's Christmas time, and I'll be keeping it. I have two loose highlighters from Morphe. I'm not a fan of Morphe. I'm pretty sure I only bought these because of the fact that it's a Coca-Cola collab, so I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter these. I don't like Morphe products. I think they're a load of shit, and you get what you pay for with Morphe. Cheap, crappy makeup. Now this is a cult favorite, and it is the Becca Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Champagne Pop. So I will be keeping this. I have two highlighters from About Face in the Light Lock formula, and this is like the powder one. And I have the shade Stay in Bed and the shade Ice Dusted. And I will be keeping both of these. I have two from Lunar Beauty. So one is in the shade Mars, and these are called the Moon Prism Powder Highlights. This is a really pretty, like almost a blush. You could use this as a luminous blush. So I'll be keeping this, and then the shade Jupiter. And I remember when I got this, I use this as a bronzer all the time. So I must have been like super glowy, but I'll be keeping that one as well. I have two from Pure Cosmetics. Both are in collaboration with Barbie. So this is the Confident Glow Duo. So you get two different highlighters in here in the shade Pink Taffy and Bubbly. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and pass this along. Then there is a body highlight in the shade Forever Glow, and I will be keeping this. Now I think this is from a BoxyCharm, and it is a putty highlighter from Steve Laurent. And it is in the shade Prosecco Please. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this. And I have a loose highlighter from Artist Couture in the shade Summer Haze. And this is the Diamond Glow Powder. Now everyone raves about these, and I feel so bad because I've never really used it. And I've had it for years. So I think it's just time to declutter it. I have this absolutely massive highlighter from Huda Beauty in the shade Helios. It is the Nymph All Over Glow. And I only just picked this up this past summer, so I will be keeping this. And finally, the last highlighter. This is a loose highlighter from Spellbound Beauty & Co. And I am gonna go ahead and declutter this. Unfortunately, this is no longer a brand, and I think I've kept enough loose highlighters. So I only put one highlighter in the maybe pile, and this is the Kylie Cosmetics loose highlighter in the shade Tahiti. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and keep it because I want to. Now it's time to go ahead and put all of these highlighters away behind me. So hopefully that doesn't take up, before it was taking up 3 drawers, and I'm hoping this narrows down my collection for my highlighters to only take up 2. So that is all of my highlighters decluttered and organized. These are the ones that I got rid of today. So I'll go ahead and add it to the box of all the other makeup that I'm decluttering. So I think next time I'm going to try to tackle my lip products. So let me know if that sounds good to you in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye y'all.